Hello there survivors, and welcome back to another build tutorial in ARK Survival Ascended. Today I'm building this Hobbit Hole and I'm showing you step by step how to build this yourself. But very important, you do actually need a proper mod for this. I guess you could try and build this without mods, but you actually miss a lot of the building pieces. I'm using Arkitect Structures Remastered, which adds a bunch of extra building pieces to the normal vanilla structures that we know and love, like extra beams that can go diagonal. It adds extra roofs and shallow sloped walls that we all need to fill in this build, but most importantly it adds roofs that are a little bit curved, and that really helps with the look of this Hobbit Hole. So I do recommend using that mod, and if you're looking for a server that has this mod so you can play with it, I actually have a free community server that you can play on with this mod on there as well. That was the most important bit, but of course, if you enjoy these build tutorials and you want to see more, make sure that you're subscribed, leave a like on this video, and of course, feel free to leave some suggestions for builds that you would like to see next. Now, let's get into the building. Okay, as always, of course, we want to start with our foundation. But there's a few caveats to this build. Preferably, you would want to build this into the existing landscape against a cliff or a hill of some kind to kind of blend it in, as I did here with the original. However, to keep it easier to follow for the tutorial, I'm going to build a freestanding one, but I am going to tell you how you would blend it into the terrain. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to start as close as we could to whatever cliff we're trying to build it into. So we start with the back of the build and we'll work forward. So your foundation line that you want to start is going to be the first one that doesn't clip into any cliff face or whatever you want to build against. And then we want to make sure that we go out by 8 in total. So a nice big foundation to start with. And we're going to make that 4 wide like so. And then we should be able to just continue and fill in this entire shape. Once again, the back shouldn't clip into any cliff face that you're trying to build against. That is going to be whatever is behind this layer. And then here on the side, we're actually going to extend the build a little bit. So we're going to go in by 1 from the front. Then we're going to go out by 4 more. And we can fill in the rest of the foundations like so. On the other side, we're going to do the same thing. So out by 4. And then just lining it up with the back. If for some reason you prefer to build this somewhere freestanding, I would probably repeat the same kind of pattern that we have on the front. So I would add another layer of foundations. But as I said, I personally would prefer building it into a hillside like I did, just to get that real Hobbit Hole feeling. Okay, then it's time to start here on the first curve for our building. We're going to start here on the front. I like to flip the walls around for this texture. And we're going to start with 2 slope walls or gables on the corner of our building. The next step depends on whether or not you're going to use the same skins for the round windows. If you're not, you're just going to build a window like this. And you're just going to do it like normal. But if you want to use the same skins, which are the Acadian Custom Cosmetics, you want a normal doorway to be there. So the normal way around, which is a little bit confusing, but otherwise the skin won't work properly. And then we're just going to go and fill in the middle like this with 2 normal walls. Again, if you don't use the skins, you can just have normal windows where I have the door frames. And then here we want to take out some quarter walls to kind of line this up so that we can have a proper door here in the middle. Once again, if you do not use the skins, you can just have a normal door frame. If you do use the skins, make sure to flip it again. It needs to be facing the normal way for the skin to work in the best way possible. And that's going to be the first layer of this building. Then we can move on to the second one. We're going to take out our shallow wooden gables here. And we're going to start to continue this shape going forward. We'll take out more quarter walls. Place them on top of these, and then we can continue with more shallow gables on top like so to kind of get that curve feeling going. We can take out more walls, place them on top like this, and this is going to be the front of the building. Doesn't look great yet, but we'll fix that in a matter of no time. We want to take out our thick beam, and we're going to start right here by placing down this nice pillar like so. We're going to do the same thing here on the edge of the windows on both sides, just to make it look a little bit nicer. And then we want to take out our half pillars as well and place them on top there and on top here to kind of make sure that this continues all the way to the top. I also want to make sure that we add in these pillars next to the door frame. Then we'll go into the thick beams, the beam variant, and we're going to go all the way across the bottom. Of course, not right there in the door frame, and just continue over here. You can actually fill in these parts, but you'll need to use the half beam again so that it doesn't lap over the doorway itself. And we can also have a normal thick beam right above the door and here on top as well. Then we want to go through these convex wooden beams, and we want to make sure that we keep the thick beams, and we can fill in these two. We can do the same right over here. Then we can take out the normal diagonal beam, also the convex shape, of course, and that should line up with that piece of a building. And then if it lets you, you could also make it go down all the way into the ground, but sometimes it doesn't really let you because of the way it overlaps into the terrain. So you can just see whatever it lets you do or not. And of course, we can add in our doors as well. Okay, then it's time to start here on the side portion. On this side, we're going to place a wall here and over here. We're going to have our normal gable right there. We're also going to have one over here, so that it will match up with whatever roof we're going to place there. And then again, here in the middle, you want to do a normal window. If you're not using any skins, if you are using the same Arcadian skins as I do, you want to have another doorway right there. Then on here, we want to use the shallow gable again, and we want to use that over there as well. Then we can fill in a layer with our quarter walls here in the middle. Now we'll start with the slope beam, because you probably still have that version selected. So we'll add that right here. Again, if you can, enter it on the end, but most of the time you probably can't. You can actually place it right here along this one, so that we have some supports over there as well. Then we'll take out our normal pillar. We'll start by filling in one here, one next to the window, like so, and one here at the end as well. Then we can go to the beam. We want to have one above the window, and of course one at the bottom of the build like so. Then we go to the shallow beams, and we'll place them here along the gables. And now we should be able to also place in our beam along the top of the building here. Like so, so that it's nice and framed in. And then we can also place another door right there as well. And then here on this side, we actually also want to add in a window. Again, you can use a normal window if you're not using the skin, but if you're using the skin, we want to place a door right here. Of course, adding in an actual door as well. We'll take out the beams at the bottom and the top. We'll have pillars next to it as well. Then we can take out this shallow thatch roof cap, I think it's called. And we want to take out this one, the beveled ridge, which should line up nicely at the front. And here at the back, we want to make sure that we add in the gable here as well to close off any open space that it might leave. Then here at the side, we can also add in our wooden gables or slope walls. Just like that. And then we should also be able to place in our beams along the gable for some extra support. Now, technically, you can do the exact same thing as we did on the other side over here. But personally, I really like to play around with the shapes. And maybe instead of having the window at the exact same spot, play around with adding it in a different corner. This only works, of course, if you're going to add more to the building because you're blending it into the landscape. Otherwise, I would suggest just leaving it in the middle. The same over here. Instead of having the window exactly in the same spot, you can also try around with moving it just to kind of change it up a little bit, unless you really want to keep the symmetry, of course. But if we do place them over here, we can kind of do the exact same for filling in the shape. That's not really going to change. So we'll add in some walls here. We add a wooden gable at the end. We'll add our shallow gables on top for this next layer. And we'll have a layer of these quarter walls up there. On the top here, we'll have the same little beveled roof cap. And then we can also add in our wooden gables here along the side, like so. Making sure that we add the supports. And we'll do the support right there as well. And of course, over here. And if we can, you can do it into the ground, as I said before. Then we'll place the actual pillars right over here on the corners of this one. We want to place them on the corners of these ones as well. We can have them there and even in the middle here. Then we can have beams along the bottom, of course, and above the window. We can also have it here along the tops over here. Then we can add in the beams above the shallow bits. And then we should be able to add in the beams along the top here as well. And of course, let's not forget to add in the actual door or window here so that we have that finished too. So that kind of gives us the basic shape. And in most cases, this will be the visible part of your outside walls. Because once again, most likely you'll be blending the back into whatever is behind the hillway. What I would do for most of these, you can't actually use ASR pieces for this, I think. What I would actually do for most of the back wall is adding in like secret doorways. So you could have some hidden storage in whatever space is left between your fake wall and whatever is between you and your landscape. That's kind of what I did along the backside of this. All these walls here are actually secret doorways. Now, in some cases, you might have it that there's still some things sticking out. So in my case, what I did for this room was actually also make the wall here. And then, of course, making it secret doorways so I could always access it. And this allows you to hide some of your storage or maybe your generator just behind this wall and creates a little bit of the smaller rooms that are more suited for the Hobbit life. But of course, this depends on whatever you want to do with your interior. For now, we're just going to focus on how you would fix this back wall in case you want to place it randomly. As I said, you probably want to take this one out, but we're going to keep a straight line. It's not going to look great. So again, just build this into a cliff so you don't really see the back. You want to make sure that these walls line up with your front. But of course, in this case, we can also just keep going all the way through, all the way up until the end of our building because, well, this is the back. This is the back of it. You will get into some problems here. This is why if you're not building it into a landscape, I would probably keep this window over in the middle just to make your life a little bit easier. So for now, I'll move it to the side. But if you're building it back into something, what you would have instead is you would still have some thatch along this side to blend it into whatever cliff is there. But since we don't have that for the tutorial, I'm going to just move that over. Okay, and then for the back wall, you kind of want to just follow the general shape of our building. So we're just going to place down these. Then, of course, here in the middle, we can make sure that we add some of these quarter walls lining up with, again, the shape that we have. So we want to have quarter walls here, then skip to, have more quarter walls, have quarter walls over here. Again, lining it up with whatever is on the other side. So a shallow gable here, another shallow gable there, shallow gable here, here and there, and then here as well. And then some bigger walls in here with more shallow gables above these parts to make it all line up and to get the right shape going. Now, of course, we want to add our beams as well to kind of round off this shape. But once again, if you're actually building this into the landscape, you don't have to do all of these details. You kind of just want to expand the roof until you hit your cliff. We're going to use the beams along the bottom. That's going to be there no matter what. But the other beams kind of depend more. If you blend in your landscape, you don't want to add beams here because then you'll see the beams outside. If you're blending it in, you kind of just want to expand the roof until it hits the cliff. But if you, for whatever reason, don't want to build it into a cliff, this is what you would do. Although I would probably also add in some windows along the back here as well. Just, I mean, to make it a little bit nicer to look at. But again, I don't recommend actually building it without building it into landscape. So yeah, we can also add in these last pillars in case you are building a freestanding hut. Hobbit Hole. There we go. So that would be the walls. And of course, one thing that you do want to add in is these pillars that would just be the same thing. You of course want to make sure that you add in the half pillars. You of course want to make sure that you add in the half pillars as well wherever you need them. There we go. So that they always extend all the way until the top. We actually need to do that here on the front as well on some of these bits, so that it looks all a little bit nicer. And then we'll add in the remaining pillars just to get this full look done. Now, if you're skinning them, just as I am doing, what you want to take out first is this plank set from the Arcadian Premium Custom Cosmetic. We want to apply this to all the walls that, or the door frames, I suppose, that we're using. So all of them like this. And only actually the front door we also want to change to the plank variation. Then you want to take out this ivy-clad decorative set instead. And this is what you want to use on all the other doors that we're using. So all the windows, I suppose, are going to be this variation. So there we go. And then you can actually go into the wall settings, change the variant to be the circle doorway. As you can see, that's the round one. And then this one is the curved door. That is the nice window. So that's what we want to do for all of these, making sure we get the right variants to look nice. And then here at the front door, we actually want to, of course, still go to the circle doorway. And since we have the wooden variant, it will add a lovely doorway like this, which, yeah, looks like a nice little Hobbit Hole door for your building. So I definitely can recommend this this custom cosmetic set. It's quite good. It is of course a paid one, but yeah, if you do a lot of building, there's actually a lot of variations in this one for different build styles, so could be a good one. And for your Hobbit life, this is the way to get round doors and windows. Before we're doing the roof, we're actually going to do some more interior just to kind of spice up the rooms and make this a little bit smaller instead of having all these big hallways. So first off, we're going to add some walls over here to make a little hallway that you enter through. We also want to make sure that we add some walls over here and over here so that we have a little doorway that we can make going to both sides. And again, if you're using the skins, you can turn these into round doorways as well. But no matter what, there's going to be a doorway there. Then there's actually also going to be a doorway right over here. So this on the end is going to be another room. This is going to be a room. And then here, there's going to be another door. So that's going to be another room as well. So we want to fill in these with some normal walls. Over here too, just like that. And to add a little bit more of the Hobbit feel to this, we want to take out a roof, but we want to go to the convex roof to get the curve. And we're going to add that curve right over here. Then, of course, we can add in our gables to make it look a little bit nicer. And we can also add in our beams for the extra support and also just for the look, which just kind of means that we have that curve continuing in our building a little bit more. Here at the back, you probably want to add a layer of quarter walls to kind of work away whatever is behind there. And then we can also add in some pillars and some half pillars above that just to kind of keep that look going. Same over here. We can add in some pillars around the doors just as that little bit of extra support and detail. Same thing over here. But then, of course, we're going to do the same thing we did on the other side. So adding in the quarter wall above this one. And then adding in our roof pieces like so. And the gables to kind of close this off a little bit. So that's how we kind of divide this whole space up into different rooms so that you have yeah, basically a few different rooms that you could dedicate for different things. A bedroom, your storage, your kitchen, whatever you need inside. It's just to give you a little bit more space to work with. Now that we've got that all going on, it's time to actually start placing down the thatch roofs, which is going to be our grass roofs. We of course want to go to the convex variant. We want to start with the normal one around here, also around the bottom. That's the first layer that we'll do right over here. That's also where we want to add some of these normal roofs, just like that. Then we continue on this side. We do the same thing over here. Same thing over here. Again, blending it into the landscape. And if you do build it into a hillside, you would just continue along the back until it overlaps into the hill. Of course, you need to be able to actually clip into things. So you need to have that setting enabled as well. Then we're going to take out the shallow convex roofs so that we can continue this going on like so over here. We'll do the same thing over here, continuing our little convex. Also the other way around. They should all line up quite nicely. Keeping this going back to this side and keeping that little hill going all the way through. And of course, now it looks still a little bit weird, but as soon as we start painting it green, or actually filth color is what I always use, it really starts to transform into a hill. So there we go. And then all we need to do is add in some roofs like this for the last remaining pieces to really get our little hills going. And then there we go. We pretty much have a little Hobbit Hole building. Now, as I said, for the roofs, you want to make sure that you paint all these regions to the filth color. And that is really all there's to it. Now, of course, what you want to do here in the front is add a little staircase to get in and out of your building. But yeah, that's really it. That is how you build a Hobbit Hole. Now let's take a look at my original Hobbit Hole for some tips how to blend it into the landscape and of course how to decorate your build. So here we go. We have built it right next to the original. So as you can see, my build just kind of blends into the back. So the thatch roofs just are placed until you can't see where they're going, and you can see that this filth color that I've painted them in really blends in quite nicely with the environment. And then I've also used JVH landscaping to add a bunch of plants on top of the Hobbit Hole to make it even nicer looking and more like a proper little hill instead of a build. Of course, if you do not have that mod, but you do have the Bob Talltales DLC, you can also go around with a shovel, get some bushes from the world, and then place them in plant pots or crop plots on top of the hill to still kind of get that overgrown look a little bit. But yeah, that's kind of how you start blending this into the side of a cliff to make sure that it looks like it's part of the actual hill, like I have it over here. And then when you look inside, what I've done, I've actually also added in some shallow roofs above this hallway just to make it even smaller feeling and also add that rounded shape. So that's actually very easy to do. And then what I've done for these rooms is just make sure that they're nice and cozy. I didn't want very big rooms. I've actually brought back the wall one more, as you can see. And in this case, I added a little terrarium. I still need to decorate it a little bit more for my best friend. But yeah, by bringing that wall a little bit more forward, you can see these rooms are even smaller than in the tutorial. They are all hidden walls, so I can actually go back here. But yeah, in my case, there's just a little generator behind there. And then we have a cozy little interior over here. And we can go all the way to the other side as well. We have a little storage room here and a little bedroom, just making it all nice and cozy on the inside. And in my case, in most of the rooms, I've made it even smaller by adding in that fake wall. Just because, I mean, Hobbit holes are supposed to be small and cozy, so that's kind of what I did. But of course, the interior, you're completely free to do whatever you want, but you can see that this is quite a high roof. So all you do is bring out these shallow roofs, make sure that you have the convex pieces, and you just add them in either here. You could also add them in here if you want to make the roof even lower. That is completely up to you. But yeah, you can already see the feeling changes a whole bunch. So Yeah, and you have a bunch of these rooms. As you can see, these are a little bit bigger because I placed in an extra wall. But I'll leave that up to you and how much room you want to have in your little hobbit hole. But yeah, that's how to build it. Hopefully you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I hope to see you around in the next video or live stream. Goodbye.